Hey everybody, it's time for another wonderful edition of the Jersey Tales.
Let's go!
Woo! Oh, it is post Super Bowl weekend. So who's all here? Well, Jingles is here.
Hola, ¿cómo estás?
Jason's here.
Yeah, estoy bien.
Stylox is here.
Howdy, howdy.
Producer Lexi is here somewhere, back in the editing booth somewhere.
Hey, yo.
Over there. Look, it's little Lexi. And it's me, Quedo, or Red the Ram. Welcome, everybody, to the Jersey Tales. So, Super Bowl weekend. Super Bowl weekend. It's like it's the national pastime, right? It's the holiday that isn't a holiday, but it's still a freaking holiday. You know how I know it's a holiday? Because I had some stuff that was supposed to be delivered yesterday, and it never showed up because nobody went to work.
That sounds about right.
Yeah, that tracks.
But the nice thing about it though is we had a football game. So and we had a very good football game. I mean, granted, like I'm disappointed. Also, I probably should throw out that there may be a guest star appearance by my cat because my cat is still upset that the Chiefs won.
Yay!
Wow. Okay, so
I'm
glad. So I hope you realize this is probably gonna be like a pro Kansas City cat.
Yeah. I mean, I'm outgunned because like I just didn't want Mahomes to get another one. Like that was my whole thing. I mean, I'm left with the turd sandwich comparison between these two choices that I've got to make here, because as a Bengals fan, these are like our two least favorite teams that aren't in the AFC North.
Yeah.
And so I had to pick one of them to cheer for because, spoilers, there was no giant meteor that saved me from this horrible thing. And so I was pulling hard for the 49ers just because I just did not want any more Mahomes. It was like what I was saying, it's kind of like it's like the football version of Groundhog Day. Every time Mahomes wins a Super Bowl, we get 2 more years of was it Allstate commercials or State Farm commercials?
State Farm.
Yeah.
State Farm.
It's like great, we're gonna have to deal with more of that. But I mean, honestly though, it gives just as a neutral party, that was a football game. Like It was awesome. I think that was still probably the best. I think that was the best game that we had in the playoffs, right?
Up there.
First one, yes. The second one, I would say Rams Lions would be the second best playoff game that we had this postseason.
Not the 49ers in Detroit.
That was a choke job right there on Dan Campbell's part.
It was still fun though.
Yeah, I mean that was a fun game. That was a fun game too. But this was just, it was just so good. Like I had people that aren't sports people, and they hate it whenever I talk about sports, which is, sorry folks. Now I talk about sports all the time. But they were messaging me at the end of that. And I'm just like, I haven't spoken to you in like 2 months. She messaged me about how great of a football game it was to watch. I'm like, yeah. I mean, the team I wanted to win didn't win. But yes, like I can 100% appreciate it as someone who just tuned in, saw Patrick Mahomes come back from behind, win it. And there was no shenanigans. I think that's the best part. There was just nothing goofy going on that made you scratch your head a bit. Everything seemed like it was going okay. So, Sai, I assumed you watched the Super Bowl this weekend. What do you think?
Oh, I loved it. I loved every part of it. You had 2 battle-tested teams coming in from their respective conferences, and I'm not going to be the one person that says it was a great game. I think it was an okay game. It kind of got more interesting towards the end of it. But at the beginning, both teams looked very, sluggish and out of it. I don't know if that's because of early game jitters or, people were just trying to get their legs under them. But it was a decent game. It went about as expected as I thought it would.
I mean, did it seem like there was a lot of freak injuries on the 49ers side?
The Dre Greenlaw?
Yes,
yeah,
that one.
That one was
Green. That was
dude.
a weird one because he was jumping up, then he ran onto the field after the punt and just tore his Achilles.
Yeah, he overextended, I think, because like it happens. It does happen to like even with the athletes. It's something that you don't expect to happen, but it can. Just trying to hype yourself a little bit too much, and then you kind of overextend your leg a little bit. I'm assuming that's what happened when he was trying to run over to the field after jumping for so much. So it sucks that happened. It's I don't think a lot of people will let that down on him, unfortunately, because some people are jerks. But like, it's an unfortunate thing that happens. Like, it can happen to literally. It's like how if you just woke up and you do too much of a stretch and you get a Charlie horse.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it kind of feels like that kind of situation. Like it happens when you least expect it.
You know what this reminds me of? It reminds me of if you remember the kicker Martin Gramatica. He has a brother called Bill. So he famously tore his knee in a celebratory leap.
That was
After
I remember
making
that.
a kick goal. It's like the same energy with Dre Greenlaw, just getting so hyped to come out on the field, and what happens? He tears his ACL. Like, it's such a freak accident, and big up, prayers to him. You hate to see it because I know he probably wanted to be out there and contribute, some more to the his team during the game. But yeah, that was a freak accident. I don't think I've ever seen anything like that before in person, at least in football.
Yeah.
Injured 49er players, and all I could kept thinking about was the discussion that we went back with about their practice field situation, where it was like turf that was just sandwiched on top of artificial turf. So they went out and put sod on top of it, and which was not a great playing surface, and they were complaining about it. And I'm just wondering how much of that was because you're playing on a really spongy, slippery material, the other injuries that came in. But the one thing that Lexi was wanting me to bring up was that, once Dree went down, the person that he was covering just basically took off and set the world on fire. Like 9 targets, 9 catches, 1 touchdown, 134.7 passer rating, 32.1 PFF, whatever that is, coverage grade. Jason, did you watch the Super Bowl, I suppose?
Yes, I did watch the Super Bowl, and I am glad of who won. But since this wasn't on the list, I'm gonna go ahead and talk about it. The Nickelodeon coverage is crazy and unhinged. That was freaking hilarious.
I was hoping someone was gonna bring that up. Yes.
So, like, as someone who is a cartoon nut myself, I didn't watch it via Nickelodeon because, like, I think that's kind of one of those things where, like, I'm just gonna watch it for the memes, or I gotta be like intoxicated or something before getting into that, right? Because it was gonna be bad. But like, oh my goodness, like some of the things that they did was pretty freaking crazy. Like with the fumble, and Patrick's like, "Oh, you gotta firmly grasp it." And I'm like, I'm just like, yo. Even Dora was like, "Bro, I wonder if they need a mat to find the end zone." I'm just like, yo, y'all need to stop. It's just like, bro, it's crazy, like how much fun that a lot of the guys had on that broadcast as well, like from the voice actors to the other people who were commentating on the side too. Like, it just seemed like a bunch of fun, and I'm glad that like Nickelodeon is partnering with the NFL to be able to give kids an opportunity to kind of get interested in the game in a very fun way, to where they can understand the game a little bit more. Because I know that when it comes to the regular broadcast, it can kind of, you can, like, 6 or 7 year olds are probably going to get lost very easily within the game. So yeah, I think that that's a pretty good way to help continue to inspire young kids to, go out and have fun with this one, because it was a bunch of fun. And I can easily see people be like, I want to pick up a football and have fun playing that too, and get slimed, even though I don't know where they're going to get slimed. But yeah, I enjoyed the game. It was a bunch of fun. And the memes that I saw after it was also a bunch of fun. There were a lot of roller skating memes, but we'll get to that. We'll get to that.
So, real talk though, we were having like a little mini Super Bowl party here, and we were watching it, and the thing we ran into is like I got Paramount Plus, and that's what we were watching it on, and the stream quality sucked for the first half. Like it kept going, and legitimately we were sitting there thinking like, well, if this isn't getting any better, I'm gonna have to switch it over to Nickelodeon. I may have to pick up Nickelodeon if I don't already have it in one of my other packages. This is the one I've been waiting for all night. Jingles. Did you get to watch the Super Bowl?
Yes, from the damn Atlanta airport.
How was that watching experience?
Landed, go through customs, go to the gate, and we look at the time. It's like, oh wow, we got a 5-hour layover. All right, let's go back over to this burger joint. So me and the wife went over to the burger joint, watched the first halftime show in the third quarter from the bar, and the fourth quarter, watch it on the terminal screen. I had to watch the overtime on my phone. Thank God for airplane Wi-Fi. But the overall game, the first half, I see it as a defense chess match in the first half. It was no jitters, no nothing. It's just both defense were just clamping down on, hey, the Chiefs defense want Purdy to throw it. No, they've been running the ball with Christian McCaffrey over and over and over and over again. And on the Niners side, they've been trying like, hey, run the ball. We don't want you to throw. So that's why the Niners were playing man coverage on Kelsey and Rice and MVS. They wanted him to throw, but you can't run it. Trying to run it on the defense with Pacheco. That's what I saw in the first half.
Yeah, and for those of you that don't know, like we knew that Jingles was flying. In fact, Jingles responded back when I was asking if Jingles was watching the game. Jingles comes back with, yes, I've got my little notepad ready to go. I'm taking notes. Kansas City could not stop the run in that first half. Now, they did make that adjustment in the second half because they basically took away the run, despite how many times I had to listen to, again, this is why I was hoping, or that's why now I'm wishing that we would have switched over the Nickelodeon thing so I wouldn't have had to hear Tony Romo say, oh, just run the ball this time. You know what? They should just run it again. You know what? They should just run it. It's like you guys have been harping on this guy like he's a game managing quarterback.
But
you just want to get it off.
But the Niners ran away from the run in the second half. They only ran the ball 16 times in the second half in overtime. They got away from it.
Like I understand when they adjusted because like if you watch those first couple of runs early on after the half, like Kansas City had buttoned that up. Like they had taken that weapon away. There's the crazy kickoff thing too. I can't believe I totally forgot about that. You just reminded me with the fumble because I was like, yeah, it was like fumble, and then it was everything was playing good outside of like penalties. Which they were legitimate penalties. Like, don't get me wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm not saying like we're playing ref ball or anything. But then there was like that freak kick that just happens to like clock. I think it was one of the 49ers.
Yep, bounced off their shin, and I don't know who the return man was, but they muffed the kickoff, and then of course that's how the Chiefs were able to.
That's a punt at the 2:42-minute mark in the third quarter. Remember that tweet that Lexi posted in the NFL chat about the new CBS score bug? Everyone that looked like NBC. And when they debut it, it looked like the old school Sunday Night Football that NBC used, but they enhanced it to make it their own. Y'all notice that?
I mean, I know they usually feature their new.
But they went with the old school Sunday Night Football NBC version of it. They just made it 4K. That's all they did to it.
That's why it looked familiar because we were talking about that when we were watching because Lexi brought it up and of course I'm like, huh, what? And then that's when I was like, oh, yeah, okay. And it did look weird, but like at the same time, it looked familiar. Yeah. And I was trying to figure out why.
Yeah, they got it from the old school NBC Sunday night theme, like from the mid to late 2010s. Around that time, that's what it looked like.
Well, I think it's the same one that Notre Dame uses. when they're on
Close
NBC.
to it, yeah, close to it.
Because I was trying to figure out why it didn't bother me like it did everyone else. Because I'm like, oh yeah, I've seen this before, and it's because I've watched my college team play Notre Dame a couple of times in the last couple of years, and so for me, it was just like, yeah, it's goofy and it's NBC, and then now it's like, oh wait, we're on CBS. You guys are supposed to have more money. what have you done?
Apparently not. After today, they let go they let go 5 people off of the CBS Sports Network crew, including Jim Rome, Adam Schein, Bill Coward, Boomer Esiason, and Phil Simms. They're all free agents.
Wow.
They got rid of Boomer?
Boomer's a free agent. ABC returns to the rotation so they could bring in Disney for that Super Bowl.
Ooh.
Well,
that'll be
I don't
lame.
think Disney is the kind of company that knows how to have fun. So it would probably be
Let's do the Toy Story Super Bowl edition.
Don't remind me of pain. Don't remind me of that pain.
Because I know what, like, if I'm the Disney Plus producer, I know exactly how I'm doing this. So like, you think about like the Bills game on Disney Plus, you know, when the kick goes wide right, like that's immediately when I just cut to Grogu just going like, Forrest grab, where the little baby Yoda has grabbed the football and moved it off to the side there. You know, you could meme it and make it fun, but I don't think you could do what Nickelodeon did. So apparently it was the most watched broadcast in history, according to CBS. It looks like it averaged 120 million with more than 200 million viewers, which is basically 50% of the entire United States.
I mean, that doesn't surprise me.
Yeah.
If there was any doubt that the NFL was king of entertainment, that has gone out the window. People love to watch the Super Bowl, regardless of who the teams are. Despite what people will say on social media, that is not a representation of how the vast majority of people feel.
Oh no, those are terminally online nerds.
Yes. Now, I will say this. It is the lowest. I don't know if it's the lowest attended Super Bowl, but since the COVID-19 pandemic, it is the lowest one. There was 61,629 people who attended, but that was made up for in the viewership numbers. So again, I think regardless of who's going to be there, the numbers are always going to be high. You had, the San Francisco 49ers going against the evil empire. So who doesn't want to see a potential David versus Goliath situation? Although I don't know how that would work because they're both kind of Goliaths.
I don't think the Niners could be considered David in any sense of the imagination.
The Lions would have been had they gotten.
I would agree with that. I would say it's more so of like a two gladiator type of vibe, like the Greeks going up against the Trojans or something. More along those lines, two empires duking it, but yeah, for sure.
I mean, someone had to win, so
yes,
and honestly, I think people, despite us not wanting to say it and wanting to admit it, we like greatness. You're getting to watch greatness on TV in the form of Patrick Mahomes. So people want to see if he's going to win. They want to see how many times Taylor Swift is going to be shown. They want to see if Kelsey's going to score. There was a lot of storylines.
I was wondering, like, how much was like just the Swiftie effects. I know people that are just watching the Super Bowl because they want to see, like, cause I know that we were actively doing the Swiftie count during the thing because, like, I was just curious, just because it was just fun.
It got up to 55 seconds photo of showtime of Taylor Swift throughout the Super Bowl. That's only 1%. Of the total time on the Super Bowl. You're complaining about that?
I'll be honest with you. I was a little surprised they didn't show her a lot, but I think
really. Like time wise, no. But I think what the count was like, it was like 8 before the end of the Super Bowl, like, which is that's a lot to show someone's significant other during a football broadcast. I mean,
I thought it was going to be double digits. I'm not going to. I thought it was going to be double digits.
It was at least 8 in regulation time. Now in overtime, I think I stopped keeping track. I'd have to go see.
I think they showed her once.
Okay, and then of course then she was there at the end, but which was fine. It just it was a lot comparative to other experiences, but like it wasn't annoying, and it wasn't for like ridiculously long time periods. Plus, you got you're bound in a beer, so
Yeah, it was crazy.
That was fun. The only thing that I have to say is that I'm just envious of Swifties because they get to witness their first Super Bowl win, and that makes me sad. I've been waiting for goddamn about 20 years at this point.
preach it. We haven't had one ever. We've gotten there a couple of times. Never won it. Mm-hmm. We got one more to lose, and then we're in like Bills territory of like depression.
Whew. I don't think anyone can reach Bills territory of depression since it was 4 in a freaking row. But anyway.
So yeah, I mean, I wondered how much like that bumped up the numbers too. But yeah, so a lot of people tuned in. I think they got a good example of what a good football game is. So officiating is a good way to segue into this too, because I think I saw one potentially missed call that would have been impactful, and like that was it.
No, this was a surprisingly, given how bad officiating was this season, this was a surprisingly good officiated game. The only issue I had was that catch by, I think it was Kittle. It was someone on San Francisco. That catch shouldn't have been a catch. And
the ball was, but yeah, I know which catch you're talking about. The one that hit the ground and just barely. He had two
steps though. He had two steps with control, and then as he went down, then once the ball hit the line, then it became loose. So to me, that's a fair catch. He had 2 steps of control of possession of the ball. And then as he was falling, because like we had this discussion too, because the sports nerds are going to watch the sports and they're going to sports nerd about the sports. So there was a lot of this discussion, and I agreed with the official that he had the ball, he had possession, took 2 steps inbound. As he's going down, it touches the line and then it comes loose. At that point, it's out of bounds, right? Like it's gone. It's crossed the plane. It's gone out of bounds. It's an extension of the player. The play is dead. So it doesn't matter if it pops loose at that point. Like that was my take on it. Now, if you have a different take,
that's a fair point. No, that's a fair point. I'm just saying. I think outside of that, I really didn't see any egregiously missed penalties. I felt it was like a fairly called game, and they let the players play. So.
The one call I want to say was questionable, that intentional grounding on Mahomes when he ran out of the pocket, but the ball didn't barely make it back to the line of scrimmage, but you saw a Chief player run back towards the ball, and they still call that intentional grounding. That's the only questionable call that I noticed out of the game.
So on that one, here was my take on that one. He is specifically looking at the sideline. He is going to throw to the sideline, and then the receiver sees that he's throwing and kind of scrambles in that direction. That one, I'm okay with. I think the ref actually made the right call on it, because you know what he's doing, because he doesn't want to get the sack.
Yeah, my thing about it was that it's still on Mahomes a little bit no matter what, because he hesitated throwing it away until he was grabbed and started dragging down, and then he like pushed it.
Yes, he literally just tossed it out of bounds. I mean that's what he did as he's falling.
Yeah, I just think that if he would have just didn't hesitate, try to like pump fake it and just yeet it out of the sidelines, it would have been fine. But since he didn't do that, I think it was Bosa was the one that grabbed him and brought him down before he decided to yeet it. If he just went ahead and just commit and threw it away, that would have been fine. So that was a little bit more on Mahomes for that one. Whether or not it deserved to be called, I think it didn't really matter too much because I think that it would have been a bad time anyways.
Yeah,
in that possession.
Did you have one that you were questioning, Jason, or did you think?
I thought this was the cleanest game of the entire playoffs, in my opinion.
I
really
agree
didn't
that
have
it was
any
the cleanest.
issues with it.
My only
issues.
one, there was one play, and I want to say I think it was in the fourth quarter. It was either fourth quarter or overtime, and there was a clear neutral zone infraction that was not called on Kansas City, where like you could see the blue line is like running underneath the dude's like heel, and for whatever, and then yeah, because I think it was either like towards the end when, gosh, I'm trying to remember now. Because Lexi was there. I was saying that, what they should do is try to pull him off sides. And like, it was like going into the 2-minute warning, and the guy's foot was over the blue line. Now, granted, I know it's the TV blue line, and that's not 100% accurate, but he's the only guy that's out there that far. And that should have been called, which would have reset things and probably would have put San Fran in actually a position to possibly win it. But that was the only one, which is probably why they didn't call it, to be honest, because they didn't want to revisit that. Either the guy didn't notice or the blue line was wrong, and it could have been that too. I don't have the big screen. So the other thing is the Super Bowl did go into overtime. Yep. And I don't know if you're completely aware of what the overtime rules were that we would have been in for if this thing would have continued.
It's okay.
No.
Apparently the Niners players had no idea about it either. So
that was funny. I'm not gonna lie. That was funny as hell. Like, I'll be honest with you, like they should have expected, because they always do this every year. This is like some kind of like tinker into one of the rules that they're gonna implement in the final game just to see how it goes. And I know the overtime rules was one of the major ones. So like, I didn't realize that they were doing it. It's like, oh, okay. I didn't realize that was going to be the big change, but I dig it because this was what we were harping for the longest time, and we finally got it.
So, if the score is still tied at the end of overtime period, or if the second team's initial possession has not completed, because this was the discussion that we were having, Lexi, if you remember. The teams will play another overtime period. So even if the clock runs out and you're able to stall them, we're just going to repeat. The play will continue regardless of how many overtime periods are needed for a winner. The game could literally still be going on right now.
So, it's funny. Because I didn't understand the new rules. I was with my friends literally screaming at Reed, call an effing timeout. Why is the time running down? I wasn't aware that, they get an extra period if they haven't completed theirs. So I was freaking out. Like, why are you not calling a timeout? So, yeah, I don't think that rule was ever really explained that much when it actually was passed down.
It is literally a new game of football. It will have a halftime if there is no winner at the end of the fourth time. Or the fourth overtime period, there will be another coin toss and everything resets all over again. Like, the game can literally go on. Now, it's for the Super Bowl, so you might as well, because you're making bank.
So I'll be the old man on the hill, the old man yelling at the cloud. But I'm probably the only person who wants sudden death. I don't like this whole idea of we're going to award each team a try just so we can come up with a victor. You had 60 minutes of time to come up with a victor. Might as well end the game, sudden death. I don't like how we've gotten to this point where we have crazy overtime rules now just to come up with some kind of decision on who wins the game. But that's my take. I know it's old fashioned and out of style.
Yeah, I am one of the people that is okay with this. I think that they do need to tweak it a little bit, because I do think that like, obviously, I don't think they're going to do the whole, like, repick thing in an actual regular game, because that'd be stupid. But I do think that, like, giving both teams a shot at getting a TD and then the next one, I think it's, like, a combination of the two, right? That I think that needs to happen. Like, both players both teams need to get possession, they both get touchdowns. Then you get into kind of a sudden death type of vibe, being all right, cool. This next score is going to be for the marbles type of deal. That's what I think is like the best case scenario for this situation, because I do think that like giving an opportunity for your best players would be great, because like that's what really kind of made me very sad about the Super Bowl that like the Falcons were in, and how Matt Ryan never got a shot at getting that TD because of the whole overtime rule stuff. So I was like, dang.
Yeah, every team deserves a shot. Every team deserves, and I think it's college where it's like, okay, great. So every team gets a shot. You both kick field goals. Now you both have to try to get a touchdown. And then like if you both get touchdowns, great. Now you have to go for 2. Mm-hmm. Or now you have to go for a touchdown, and then you have to go for 2. And the first one of you that screws up, you're out. And like I think that might work, but like I think we were discussing different ways of adjusting it too during the game, about changing the starting location might be something that you could come into play. Granted, I love overtime that just keeps going. I don't know, maybe it's just the crazy person inside of me. I mean, I remember it was like Louisville and Syracuse, or Louisville and Notre Dame went into like a 7-time overtime in college.
You're thinking about Illinois, Penn State, 9 overtime.
Nope, I'm thinking specifically about a Louisville game because I watched it and we came out on the losing end of it after like 7. Because it was like in the ACC tournament too. Because I remember going to bed at like overtime 4. And I checked it in the morning to see when it ended. It was like, oh, the game ended at like 2 p.m. or 2 a.m.
No, I get that, and I get the idea of wanting a fair shot, but I guess my central argument comes down to you've had 60 minutes to get that outcome, and it hasn't happened yet. If your defense is not able to stop the other team from going down the field and score, that's not on the coin. It's not on the coin. That's on you. And you should be more upset about your defense or your offense stalling than a coin flip not going your way.
I guess like my argument to that is the fact that like fatigue is a very serious thing at the end of the day, because like as you said, it's 60 grueling minutes, and especially if especially depending on how long a certain side has been on the field, especially on the defense, if they have just been like being hampered with a bunch of 3 and outs all the time, and they just like all up and down the field, they're gassed. Like fatigue has to come into play as well, and that's something that a lot of people need to consider, in my opinion, is that like when you're at that overtime game, you're not 100%, like not at all. You're probably like under 40%, if I'm honest with you, because of how gassed you are. So I think like the big thing is just like, all right, cool. It sucks because especially if your defense or offense is like, not as average at best, it puts them in a very bad position to be like, all right, cool. We know how this is going to go if they end up losing this toss. So
yeah, we've got a note here from Lexi. The Chiefs have been practicing this apparently. Like they were planning to go for 2. If it was deferred to them. So maybe it wasn't so crazy that like San Francisco kind of threw the monkey wrench of what they were planning on doing. But to go to your argument, Psylocke, about what you were saying is that, well, it's your fault that you couldn't get past their D, but at the same time, they couldn't get past yours either. And in my opinion, if your D is preventing the other team from scoring, like what if this would have been a goose egg game? Like we went 0-0 to the very end. That means that your defense played perfect football the entire 4 quarters, and now you're going to penalize one of them for being perfect. And like to me, that's not fair.
No, I understand both points that you're making, and they're valid points. And trust me, they're valid points that should always be considered, especially the aspect of having it be fair to both sides, to both teams. But I just look at it as you're creating more confusion, not only amongst the general public, but even the players who clearly had no idea of the new rules. If you're going to do these new rules, at least simplify them a bit.
If they're gonna change the OT rules, they need to do it every like they need to do it kind of like once every like 3 or 4 years, I think, so that people can at least get accustomed to it. Because I do agree with you that like they probably should have like at least like have a moment to really kind of explain like how this game is going to go, in particular, like what specific changes, and really expand on it a little bit, just so that we can have more of an understanding. Because like the snippet that we got at the beginning of the overtime rules was definitely not the most well like explained, in all honesty. Like, I can definitely understand why some people can get confused, especially with the fact that they only like put it up there for maybe 5 or 10 seconds for the most part. So that's just kind of like something that I think that the NFL needs to improve, or at least if they're going to do it on the big game, make sure to let both teams be completely aware of what the changes are, so that like we don't have the situation where Niners players are saying that, yeah, I didn't know this was a thing.
Is Kansas City in a dynasty yet?
Yes.
Obviously.
Yes.
I'm not gonna lie. I don't really watch ESPN anymore, but I do get like their notifications or whatever, like on my phone, because I do look at scoreboards, and I just saw, oh, do you consider the Chiefs the dynasty? Well, duh. They won 3 Super Bowls in the last 5 years. What are you talking about, you dummy? Like what? Like what is this? Why? Of course they're a dynasty. Like, come on, man.
Yeah, I know. I mean, yeah. I mean,
It's like
they are.
what?
It's nuts. Yeah.
That's like dumb. That's literally like what? That's literally like a newbie who is just watching NFL for the first time. Just like, wait, what's a dynasty? Then it's like, okay, I can understand. But these are people who have been doing this for years. Why is that a discussion? Like the heck?
Because
Come on,
of
man.
the time frame. Like, look at the Patriots, the early 2000s, 3 out of 4. Look at the San Francisco Giants, 3 out of 5. The Chicago Blackhawks, 3 out of 5. Now we got the Chiefs here, 3 out of 5, but went to 4 out of 5 Super Bowls. That's a dynasty to everyone's eyes. But everyone wants to go off the Patriots way. Oh, they did it 3 out of 4. They did it back to back. But also, the Patriots also did 3 out of 5 also in the second run. That's still a dynasty.
No, it's a dynasty. Oh,
yeah. Go ahead, Cy. I was trying to set you up to open with this one. But
no, it's a dynasty. And for the record, ESPN knows what they're doing. They're just trying to, farm engagement and cause fake drama. It's a dynasty. It is. It is. But it's a dynasty. There's no question. I think a lot of people are shocked because there's been a lot of debate and complaining, quote unquote, that we're witnessing another dynasty. I mean, I don't think anyone expected us to have another one so quickly after we just got rid of the Pats. But you look at what Kansas City has been able to do, even without having the same factors that led to Brady and the Pats being so dominant for so long. It's mind-blowing because they shouldn't be this good. You have so much of your cap tied into a quarterback. You have no wide receivers whatsoever outside of Rashid Rice and I guess MVS when he wants to play. You have an aging tight end. Your defense is your best asset, but didn't really, look that good in the regular season. They shouldn't be this good this year, but they won it all. Why? Because they're a well-run organization and they have the best quarterback in the game, and that's a part of
that young defense right there.
Yes.
Yeah. Now, if I recall correctly, though, like, isn't Mahomes' contract isn't like a rolling 2-year contract that's really team friendly?
Yeah, they're gonna adjust it. He even said it himself that he's gonna adjust it. So Kansas is gonna be good again, whether we like it or not. That's just kind of the name of the game. And plus, Tom did it too. Tom adjusted his contracts. Tom took like a very team friendly deal so they can continue to bring out like the best team that they can get.
Now, at the same time, though, Tom was also married to a billionaire.
Yeah, so he could.
That is also true. So.
I think Mahomes wants to win. And see, that's what I think separates him from a lot of these other quarterbacks where they want to take the money and cash out. And I get it. A lot of them come from, generational poverty. They want to take care of their family. I get it. Want to make as much money as you can before, it's over. Patrick wants to win. I think he wants to go down as the greatest of all time, and he is willing to do whatever it takes, be it a pay cut, team-friendly deal whatsoever, to get to that point. And the teams that win have the quarterbacks that do it. Brady did it. Yes, he had his supermodel wife, but he still did it. He didn't have to do it. He still did it. So this is also why you're going to see Kansas City continue to be back, because you have a quarterback who's willing to make the sacrifice in order to get the pieces around him.
And
did anybody else have anything they want to say about the dynasty stuff before we move?
Yes, I do want to also kind of point out the fact that I think I would say this year in particular, considering that a lot of people consider this Kansas City team to be the worst one out of the recent years. I also have to kind of say that a lot of teams, especially within the AFC, that's supposed to be the cream of the crop, they got to get their stuff together. They cannot be able to make the mistakes that they did in the games that they played against the Chiefs, because that's what ended up costing them, because they are the team that will take advantage of your blunders. So I think when it comes to the big lesson here with this is that you have to be very clean and very disciplined in order to overcome the Chiefs, because if you don't do that, they will take advantage. They will be able to take a bite out of that weakness. And that's something that I think we all kind of have. I think a lot of people understand and learned from this instance. So that's just kind of how it is.
Yes, I'm sorry that our mistake was Joe Burrow got hurt. I apologize to everyone else. We had to watch another.
Look,
Patrick
man,
Mahomes,
injuries happen.
Just,
I can't help that. All right, injuries.
All I'm saying is, with our second street quarterback, we came close to beating them in Arrowhead. So Super Bowl ads though, because it's a good segue, because Tom Brady had to take all those team-friendly deals. Well, then he divorced his billionaire supermodel girlfriend or wife, and now he's hurting for money because he was in a lot of commercials.
Yeah, he was in a lot this year.
It seemed like the theme this year. There were 3 of them.
So,
hang on. There were aliens, because there was a lot of aliens in the first half. I don't know why there was a lot of aliens, but there were a lot of aliens. Then there was Tom Brady. There was a lot of Tom Brady. And then there was the Temu ad. And my God, we were ready to check that out the window when it played for the 5th time in overtime. The one. All right. So the Temu ad, I was just so done with that. It had shown up so many times already, and it was getting annoying. We were at that point. I don't know what they spent to get the overtime package, but that was too much, because now you're annoying me. But my best, I think the best ad, which a lot of people didn't see for some reason, despite what it is actually advertising, I thought the best one was the Despicable Me 4 commercial.
Oh yeah, that one was good.
Where it starts out like it's an AI company, but it's showing off just absolutely horrendous AI renderings. It's here's 10 fingers. People are trying to eat pasta, but their fork is turned into noodles. And
yeah, Illumination is the best animation company right now. Then they keep killing it, bro. They keep getting the dubs in my book.
So to me, that was the best one. And the Temu ad, I'm sorry. I was so tired of seeing it. I mean, I know a lot of people are just oh, hey, aren't you going to mention the Bud? I was like, dude, that's a rehash of an old Budweiser commercial. They don't have money for a new.
Yeah. Wow. Anything that tries something new, anything that Budweiser tries something new, people get offensive now.
It is literally a one from mid 2010s.
Yeah.
Maybe even 05, 04, that range. We're talking that premise, that commercial specifically, snowed in, couldn't get anywhere. Right.
No,
So, Sai, your turn.
Oh, it wasn't a bad year for commercials. I mean, they weren't the worst things. I mean, outside Timu, RFK, and what, I have no idea why, but I got 2 ads about Elon and his car running over people. Outside of those,
Huh?
yeah,
Huh?
yeah,
What?
Certain markets, certain markets. There was a Tesla. There was an anti-Tesla commercial. We didn't get it.
yeah.
I didn't
I
see
got
it
it.
in Atlanta.
I got it 2 times.
Oh
2
my
different
God.
ones.
That's
Like,
crazy.
yeah. I'm like, you spent money on this? Okay.
Yo, that's
Outside of
insane.
Yeah, outside of those 3, it's okay. It is what it is. My favorite was a Dunkin' Donuts ad, which had, of course, Tom Brady, J Lo.
Yes, I enjoyed that one.
You know,
Ben Affleck.
Amen.
Yeah, and Ben Affleck.
Fat
that
Joe.
was that was funny. That was legitimately funny. I enjoyed that.
So
Otherwise,
Lexi didn't get that one.
Oh, really?
No, Lexi was watching it with us and was like, "Oh, I don't understand this one. This one's a terrible commercial." I was like, "No, this is glorious. This is awesome."
Yeah.
But yes, I love that one too. But like the AI one for me, just because I had to deal with that stuff all the time, like that one was just.
Oh no. Yeah, as a cartoon nerd, I appreciate that Despicable Me one. That one was that made me happy.
Jingles, what do you got?
Okay, so out of the wackiness of those commercials, I found 3 of them: 2 commercials and 1 movie trailer. The 2 commercials was the Mayo commercial where that chef heard the cat said meow. My cat can talk. Say it again, Mayo, and everyone just freaking out over the Mayo. And you think like, okay, where's Will Levis? Where's Will Levis? But he never appeared. That was the golden moment right there for our Himes to show Will Levis drinking coffee. I mean, it was right there in their hands. They didn't show it. The second one was that Doritos Dynamite commercial they showed in the 3rd quarter with the 2 old ladies was going after that last bag of Doritos, and the hippie guys took it, and they all went like all James Bond to go after that bag of Doritos and stuff.
Jason Bourne,
That stuff. The third one was that movie trailer. I was actually surprised to see it was in the 2nd quarter. The sequel to Twister. Yes, I was excited for that one right there. If you remember the first one from the 90s, I grew up on that movie, and they're finally making a sequel to it. Can't wait for it to come out in July.
Yeah, if I recall, I mean, there was a lot of movie ads, but most of them were like the 15-second.
30 seconds because they don't want to pay the extra $7 million to show you the extra 30 seconds. So it's like, go online, you want to see the trailer.
Yeah, because I did the Deadpool one, and like that's a 2-minute trailer, and I like what they're doing with that.
Yeah.
But all right, Jason. Now, best ad, worst ad.
I guess best ad was the flowing locks one because we get to see Stone Cold Steve Austin with flowing locks, and I thought that was funny. I guess
the Kawasaki commercial.
Yeah, I just like the long locks thing because I just saw Stone Cold Steve Austin just like, thanks boys, after just cutting something with his axe, and then he just gets flowing locks. That was just, I thought that was enjoyable. Worst one, there were a lot of bad ones. I guess Timo, because of repetition, and like it doesn't look like, for all the money that they spent with those slots, you can tell, but with the budget that they used with the legit animation, because that animation, that was gross. That was disgusting. They had like no budget for that. They just spent it all just for the Super Bowl ads alone. So that's great.
Yeah, because it was what, $7 million for a 30-second?
Yeah, $7 million for 30 seconds.
Which is why we saw, and they were probably one of the only ones that paid for it. Outside, because there were a couple in the 1st quarter that got recycled, like the Jeremy Reiner soy milk one, like that one got recycled. But the Temu one, I think they paid for the OT package, and of course, They were a short one, so they could be worked in a lot more. Like I feel like that's one of those like editing things where they're just like, well, they paid for the package because like no one expects the Super Bowl to go into overtime, right? So if you're paying for overtime time, you're usually just throwing the money away, and they gambled on it, and it paid off this year.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like with T-Mobile. I felt like there was like one feature of that commercial for each quarter, and I'm just like, cries.
There was, and then we get into overtime, and it was. I know it was at least what would we say with 5 or 6?
It was 6, I think.
In just in overtime, and then they played it a couple of times during the award ceremony, and I mean, it was to the point where I'm just like, this is getting annoying. Easy with a Jingles moment. Jingles, what was the craziest bet that you saw posted? Either someone took it, somebody bet on it. What was the craziest betting thing that you saw that was an option or someone took?
Why do you want to place $40,000 on the coin flip?
That's crazy.
And it hit.
That's even crazier.
You know what's crazier? We got to talk about very quickly the Gronk kick of destiny. I mean, come on, you hyped it up before the game and you shanked it wide right again. Really? Come on, you got to do better than that, Gronk.
Yeah, because like it came on, and I thought it was just an ad, like trying to hype people up for it. He's just like, no,
I saw it too.
Go.
I saw it too. I'm like, they're already going to do it before the game.
Yeah, I know. Like, and there was like no fanfare or anything. Like there wasn't any. Like it was just him just saying, all right, here we go. I'm gonna go, and he kicks it, and it misses, and I'm like, wait, that was it? That was it? Like there, you guys got to give us some build up.
Then later on, yeah, that's what I thought. I thought it'd be like halfway through the first quarter or something like that. But doing straight off before kickoff, really? Then going towards the rest of the game, you brought it back up and make the full commercial about it.
I'll be honest with you. I thought it was just all pre-recorded. I just like, oh, okay, whatever. I didn't know there was like legitimate bets on like whether or not he made it.
Yeah,
you could bet on it.
That is so stupid.
Lexi's saying that they supposedly recorded like 8 different kicks on Thursday.
That's just weird.
They probably went with the one that made the most money, which is that's even more like that should not even be a legal bet then.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'm just like, that's dumb.
Unless they have like an accounting firm that they're like, oh yes, the reason why we select the one because we had like the balls and the thing that like a lottery kind of deal. That's the only way that would make sense. Mine was the code of the Gatorade because it was purple.
For the second straight year.
Since we're talking about betting, we all know that everything's pre-scripted. So if you take a gander there in general chat, you'll see that the colors match up, and hopefully I'll have a much more exciting Super Bowl next year. So, Jingles, before we move on, is there anything else you want to say about the Super Bowl before we go on?
Yeah, the blunders of Kyle Shanahan. I mean, saying at your press conference that, my defense was tired. We were on the field last drive when Kansas City scored the game-tying goal. That's why I took the ball first, or like, hey, I want to see what Kansas City does on the defensive side so we know what we can expect. Okay, but literally saying we're playing by analytics, or we wanted to have the best option of getting the third possession of the ball. I mean, if you rely on analytics so goddamn much, go down to the Apple store, spend $3,500 on the Apple Vision Pro, wear on the effing sideline, look like a freaking idiot, let AI come down there and tell you, you should run this or you should run that play on the next drive while watching the game. Give me an effing break. You should not be coaching anything anymore if you're relying on.
Who's had a really bad postseason has been poor old Amazon, because they're pushing the analytics all the time, and now we have 2 situations where 2 coaches have been like, I'm putting my trust in the analytics. The numbers are telling me what to do, and it's cost them the game. Both times. I mean, one was the Super Bowl.
The AWS Shy Show on Thursday Night Football is great for the viewers and the consumers. but you want to improvising it during the game while you radio down by analytics team by some 24-year-old wearing a UCLA hoodie back to your headset. You're not coaching the game.
I'm just picturing now like Jingles, doing a Han Solo. You know, he's got there's Amazon Prime in the background being 3CPO, just being like, sir, the odds of us surviving this are 400. Shut up! Don't ever tell me the odds. Ever kicking the field goal. Psylocke, did you have anything else to add on Shanahan?
No, other than this is like a recurring theme with him, and I don't think they're going to win a Super Bowl with Kyle Shanahan. I'm sorry. Great. You know what? I think he's a great play caller, but he is another one who likes to get cute and just outcoaches himself. And so I'm not sure what went through his head in that second half to where he went away from Christian McCaffrey to, oh, let's make Purdy throw the ball. Like, I don't know what went through his head, but yeah, no. I know people want to blame this on Moody for missing that kick. No, this is all on Kyle Shanahan. And it sucks that he's not getting enough blowback for the game he called.
You only scored 12 points in the 3 Super Bowls that you coach as offensive coordinator and as the head coach, while giving up 65 points in the fourth quarter and overtime.
I watched the game and I was like, I need Shanahan to be cute here, because again, I was pulling for the Niners for the game just to make things fun. Because
oh yeah, you got cute in the first quarter with that flea flicker for the
oh,
touchdown.
I know, and I was like, this is what we need. This is the cute stuff. Because like again, I'm dealing with like the Kyle Shanahan we have at home on the Bengals side, where it's like, oh, we're gonna get cute. It's like everybody knows what you're doing. You're not being cute. You're just being dumb, and you're just wasting it down. But like, it's like, this is what you're gonna have to have. You're gonna have to pull out these stops in order to beat Mahomes, and it worked. Where was all that fun stuff in the rest of the game? He just gave up on it, but it worked. Like, I can understand if that goofy play with the flea flicker back and forth, and then it just something crazy happens and it just doesn't go right, and you're fine, we're just going to play conservative football. But your craziness worked. So for the love of God, just be crazy. Now, granted, the entire time that we're sitting there watching it, I got Tony Romo that's sitting in the back of in the back of my head, kind of, you need to run the ball more. You need to run. He said, yes, he needs to run the ball a little bit more. But also, hey, Shanahan, not every play has to be a 12-yard play. Like, for the love of, there's a middle section there, and you didn't put anybody in there in the safe route for a nice little 4 to 5 yard pass. Because guess what? You do 2 5-yard passes in a row, you got a first down. You go back and you watch that game. I guarantee you, I think there were like 3 that were were under 5 yards, or past the line of scrimmage, but not past the 10-yard marker. Now, yes, he had a lot of stuff where he was passing in the back to try and get people to run downhill, but that wasn't going to get you anything. Well, it got a couple of things, but you can't just rely on it. You got to feed that middle, because they were leaving it wide open. I don't understand that. Like, again, you go back and watch the Super Bowl, and you'll see it. There's huge wide open troughs in the middle where you could just make something happen. Just a little quick 5-6 yard pass right there. Boom. Great. Fantastic. We're on to 2nd and 4, which is a lot easier with that running game than, a 1st and 10.
And also, the way that Shanahan was coaching, you feel like he was down by double digits every time he gets the ball on offense. Buddy, you're up by 10. Buddy, you're still up by 10. Buddy, you're up by 25. Why are you not running the ball? Why are you not running the clock?
Yeah, I mean, I don't get it. I don't get it. That's been the Jersey Tales, I suppose. So if you've enjoyed this, like, comment, and subscribe. And hopefully we'll be on other platforms here soon. So also, thanks for tuning in, and thanks everyone for joining us.